Right. I welcome you to today's conversation in financial reporting. Financial reporting. Okay. One of the fundamental and key courses in accounting, it is financial reporting. And once you understand the concepts that are outlined in financial reporting, actually financial reporting will distinguish you from many other fields. When you understand financial reporting, then you will stand distinctly, especially from these other fields. So the main purpose of this conversation is to introduce you to the course. Introduce the course, actually the whole course, and show you what is expected of you learning in the particular course. I will plot a roadmap for you for the very course, that at the end of it all, you will have a roadmap to follow. To start with, financial reporting is actually one of the key and fundamental courses that we have in accounting, covering a lot of the concepts. Let me be quick to indicate that in financial reporting, mainly you are building on top of the key courses that you covered during the early stages of your training as an accountant. These courses would include financial accounting, okay, financial accounting, costs accounting, management accounting, okay. Most of the key courses that you looked at, including those from financial management, when you put them together, you actually find them in financial reporting, mainly just there to summarize and advance those very concepts. We'll look at those concepts in detail, even at a very higher level this time around. Okay. And the study of this financial reporting has been broken down in five parts. Number one, there is the first part that you study, which deals with the conceptual and regulatory framework. The conceptual and regulatory framework. What is it that we study here? Here we learn very many concepts, the concepts of accounting, those that you learned in financial accounting. Yeah, the accounting concepts and principles are covered here in the first unit. So they are covered at a very higher and deeper level here. You understand them. Then the other thing that you cover in this unit are the regulations, the regulatory framework. What is it that guides the accountants? What are some of the rules and regulations that the accountants follow worldwide? Okay. What is it? What are some of those rules that are there to give uniformity in terms of the way how we report as accountants? So at this point, a lot of the key concepts are introduced to you during the first part of the course. And the second part of the course deals with, the introduction to published accounts. Here we introduce you to the published accounts, introductions um, to the published accounts. What is it that is being covered under the introductions to published accounts? We introduce you to the published accounts and the consolidated or group financial statements. Under this time around, we also introduce you to the international, okay? We introduce you to the international accounting standards, IASs, the international accounting standards, which are actually there to guide you on how you can actually write and analyze the accounting concepts in a way that is internationally recognized. So there are those standards that are set by this board, and then you have to follow these ISs. So we introduce you to the different international accounting standards that need to be followed. At the same time, we introduce you to the international financial reporting standards. International financial reporting standards are introduced in this chapter. So during this same time, we show you the standards, okay, that are accepted worldwide or internationally on the way how we should be reporting the financial information as accountants, okay? So the international financial reporting standards are introduced to you. And these same international financial standards that are introduced to you, they are explained in detail in this part. The third part of the course deals with the consolidated financial, consolidated financial statements. Now, which you also call the group accounts or the group statements. So you look at the group accounts. Here you have got group accounts introduced to you. We introduce you to the international accounting standards and the international financial reporting standards that relate to the published accounts, and the consolidated financial statements. So here we don't just look at any common international accounting standards and international financial reporting standards. Instead, we concentrate on those international accounting standards and the international financial reporting standards that relate to the published and consolidated financial statements. At that point, you will learn how to relate these and how to apply these, okay, as you do the financial reporting. The fourth part of the published final accounts, you will have a further consideration where you will look at the critical international accounting standards and the financial as they are applicable in the preparation of the financial statements. Okay, so what you do on number 4 here, you learn the preparation of the financial statements. You learn the preparation of the financial statements, and the key statements that we are talking about, the statement of financial position, which you formerly called the balance sheet, financial position, the statement of profit or loss, the profit or loss, and other comprehensive income, the statement of changes in equity, and the statement of cash flow, and the statement of cash flow, the cash flow statement. These are the statements that we are talking about. Of course, as you prepare these statements, you are adhering to the international accounting standards and the international financial reporting standards. So here, you don't just prepare them anyhow, but you have to keep your ears open to what is being said by the international accounting standards and the international financial reporting standards. So that's what you do in chapter number 4. And 5, the fifth part of the course, you learn the published final accounts again. Here you focus on the interpretation. You focus on the interpretation of the financial statements, the interpretation of the financial statements. It is here where you learn how to interpret the financial statements. So what is there here is that the accounting ratios are introduced to you. The limitations of the financial statements are explained in detail here. The analysis of these statements and the interpretation of these very statements is covered here in detail. And that is the last part of financial reporting. So basically, these are some of the things that you will be looking at in financial reporting as you continue your journey as financial reporters. Okay. Now, it is actually one thing that should be very much interesting, and it should actually interest you to learn that in financial reporting, we cover a lot of issues, and these issues need you to pay attention to them. Okay. They need you to pay particular attention to them. So let me just share with you quickly, the demands of the very syllabus. Okay, the demands of the syllabus. So we say that it is divided, just to sum it up. You look at the conceptual framework of financial accounting, the regulatory framework. You learn how to prepare the financial statements, of course, which conform with the international financial reporting standards and the international accounting standards. You learn how to prepare the consolidated financial accounts and how to analyze and prepare the financial statements. So basically, that is what you cover. Okay, that is what you actually look at. Now, where is the guide? Let me show you the guide. And this is the guide to how you actually go about this particular course. Here is the guide. Of course, the first part of it, or part number A of the course, you learn the conceptual and the regulatory framework for the financial reporting. What is needed here is the need for a conceptual framework and the characteristics of the useful information. Under here, what is it that is going to be covered or that is being to be talked about? Number one, you learn to describe what is meant by a conceptual framework. Okay, you learn and we will discuss whether a conceptual framework is necessary and what alternative systems might be. We will discuss what is meant by relevant and faithful representation and describe the qualities that enhance these characteristics. We will have time to discuss what is meant by understandability and verifiability in relation to the provision of financial information. And actually, we'll discuss the importance of comparability and timeliness to the users of financial statements. We will discuss a lot of issues. We will have time to cover the recognition and measurement aspect. We will begin by defining what is meant by recognition, okay, and discuss actually the recognition criteria. We'll apply these criteria, especially when it comes to the assets and liabilities, when it comes to the income and the expenses as well. We will fully explain the measures, the following measures, okay, and compute the amounts using, number one, the historical cost, the fair value, the net realizable value, and the net present value of the future cash flows. We'll have time to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the use of historical cost accounting. We will not end there. We will describe the concept of financial and physical capital maintenance and how this affects the determination of the profits. We will continue looking at the unit, okay, and explain why a regulatory framework is needed. Also, we will include the advantages and disadvantages of the international financial reporting standards over a nation, no regulatory framework. We will explain why accounting standards on their own are not a complete regulatory framework. And we will describe the International Accounting Standard Board's standard setting process that should include the revisions to and interpretation of these very standards. We will not end there under this same unit. The concepts and the principles of the groups and the consolidated financial statements will be covered here. This is where we will describe the concepts of the group as a single economic unit. We will explain and apply the definitions of subsidiary within relevant accounting standards. We will not end there. We will even describe the circumstances when a group may claim exemption from the preparation of the consolidated financial statements and what actually happens and what we have to do in those cases. That is what happens during the first part in a nutshell of the financial reporting. The second part, here we'll learn the accounting for transactions in financial statements. How do you account for transactions in financial statements? We will start with the tangible non-current assets, where we will learn how to identify the subsequent expenditure that may be capitalized, distinguishing between capital and revenue items. We will have time to discuss the requirements of relevant accounting standards, even in relation to the revaluation of non-current assets. We will not end there. We will discuss why the treatment of investments properties should differ from the other properties and actually apply the requirements of relevant accounting standards for investment properties. We will not just end on talking about the tangible non-current assets. We even talk about the intangible non-current assets. We will begin by talking about the nature and accounting treatment of these internally generated and purchased intangibles. We will give the distinction between the goodwill and the other intangible assets. Covering a lot of concepts under this subunit, we will also proceed and look at the impairment of assets, define what impairment will define an impairment loss, what that means. We'll identify the circumstances that may indicate impairment to assets. We even describe what is meant by a cash generating unit. We will not end there. We will even look at the inventory and biological assets. We'll describe and apply the principles of inventory valuation here, and even apply the requirements of relevant accounting standards for biological assets. Before we leave this unit, we even have time to look at the financial instruments. We will explain the need for an accounting standard of financial instrument. And we will define a financial instrument even in terms of the assets and the liabilities. We will have time to distinguish between debt and equity capital during that same time. We will look at leasing, okay, explain why recording the legal form of a finance lease can be misleading to users. We will describe and apply the methods of determining a lease type. And we even discuss the effect on the financial statements of a finance lease being incorrectly treated as an operating lease. We will look at the provision and events after the reporting period, explaining why an accounting standard on provisions is necessary. We'll distinguish between legal and constructive obligations. We'll have time to define contingent assets and liabilities and describe their accounting treatment, among others. We will look at taxation and account for current taxation in accordance with the relevant accounting standards. We will also report the financial performance and we'll show you how to report revenues. On the third part of the course, which deals with the analysis and the interpretation of financial statements as well, we'll look at the limitations of financial statements. We'll indicate the problems of using the historical information to predict future performance of trends. We will have time to discuss how financial statements may be manipulated to produce a desired effect. We'll do the calculations and interpretation of the accounting ratios and the trends actually to address the users and the stakeholder needs. Okay. Once we continue looking at that and we have looked at those units, even after looking at the published accounts, we will learn how to prepare a single entity financial statement. Okay. We will learn the preparation of that and actually we'll also learn how to prepare a consolidated financial statement that should include an associate. We will not end there. We will continue with our analysis and we even learn how to explain. We explain and account for other reserves. We'll learn how to account for the effects in the financial statements of an intra-group trading. And we will learn how to account for the goodwill impairment. We will describe and apply the required accounting treatment of consolidated goodwill. So basically, these are some of the things that are going to be tackled and that we're going to talk about in financial reporting. Of course, not only limited to this. The idea of this session was just there to introduce you to the whole idea of financial reporting so that you have a picture, at least, of what is being covered under financial reporting. Do I have any questions? If I don't have any questions, we can end here and see you next time as we zero in.